Is love enough? My name's Brooke Fremouw. I'm an adoptive mom to 11 kids, a certified trauma support specialist, and today we are going to dive into, as a mom, helping adopted children. Is love enough to help those children find their footing and launch into their highest potential? I work with adoptive families. I've been working with adoptive families specifically, helping to exchange the chaos in their hearts and homes for peace. So I've seen not only my 11 adopted kids, but I've seen so many, literally hundreds upon hundreds of adopted kids over the course of the last few years. And the question becomes, is love enough? I'm interested to know your thoughts on that. So if you could, go ahead and go into the comments and let me know before I speak to you about this. Do you believe that love conquers all? Do you believe that the love that your family is providing for this child that has come into your home is transformative and going to be able to be the healer? If you have a faith background, we know that the love of the Lord is sufficient for all, right? And so I remember when my husband and I originally decided that, you know what, our family's going to go through adoption. That's how we're going to grow. And certainly we had no idea that there would be 11, like, right? Ah! That was not the plan. And so we started with babies, and I got to tell you, loving babies is super, super easy. And then we felt like, you know what? There's a lot of homes out there for babies. There are not a lot of homes out there for these older kids. Is this about us or is this about the children? And so it was a knocking on our heart, right? That was like, hey, listen. And the more we researched, like, oh, these older ones, they come with some pretty rough experiences. And these older ones typically have some behaviors, right? So would our love be sufficient? I mean, had this child been loved with a stable, healthy, great model of love before? I don't know. And would that be able to turn it all around for our child? And I got to tell you, I was young. We are now going back, so that's some scary math. Like 15 years at the point at which we got child number 4, and this became like a big part of our equation. And so at the time, I really did believe, you know, that expression that everybody in our culture love the hell out of them. And it's said kind of as a flippant thing, but I remember a mom coming up to me and saying, truly, love the hell that is in her out of her. Love the hell out of her. And I was like, whoa, that's powerful. And that is what I intend to do. I am going to love the hell that was put onto her right out of her. And we started to walk a mile in those shoes. And here's the thing I'd say, if you are an adoptive family watching this, you might have already experienced this. If you're early on in adoption and your kids are little and they don't have any of the adoption trauma behaviors yet, this may be a premature comment to you. But people don't know what it's like. They don't. Therapists don't know what it's like. The people who write those parenting and attachment books, they don't know what it's like to walk in the shoes that you and I are walking in, where you are loving a child and the child that you love is literally rejecting it at every turn, becomes violent and abusive towards you, takes their trauma and their pain and infuses the entire household with their maladaptive behaviors. Right? Do you hear me on that? So in the face of that, how do you hug a porcupine? How do you just all out keep giving, where every time you give, every time you attempt to soften your own protective mechanisms as a parent and connect with this child, they intentionally and blatantly hurt you in order to push you away and make themselves feel safe. How do you do that? We're human. Certainly not by my own strength, I can tell you that. There's no capacity to do that, right? If every single time I reach out, somebody smashes my hand with a hammer, eventually you're going to get real timid about how you reach your hand out. The irony of that is the behaviors that these kiddos that we bring in and love on have are because that's the experience that they had, right? They were reaching out for their needs. And they kept getting it smashed and smashed and smashed and not met and not met and not met. So they don't know how to do that in a healthy way anymore. All they know is keep you away or have you pouring into my black wholeness and clinginess in order that you will assure me that I am safe, because I don't believe it in actions alone. I don't believe it in thoughts alone. I only feel it when you are right in it with me. So they do something. It's called push-pull. We'll do another video on push-pull. Let me know if you know what push-pull is, and then we'll skip it. So use the comments to tell me what you need, okay? What information do you need? And then please subscribe so that when I'm making these videos, it gets higher in the algorithms and this information can get out. And we can come together as a community for the health and benefit of our homes and our kids, right? Side note, sorry. So they've learned it's not safe to have a relationship, yet they're children and they have fundamental emotional needs, physical needs, right? Relational needs, and yet those haven't shown themselves safe, so they're terrified of them. They're fighting for control. Maladaptive behaviors, like a machine gun, spread all throughout the house, and your entire household is like, what? And you're just sitting there like, I thought love would be enough. Is this my testimony only, or are you understanding and relating? I know at the time I felt super alone because I wasn't a certified trauma support specialist working with adoptive families. And now I know, dude, there's a whole tribe of us, right? And we've come together in Journey University so that we can support each other through this and we don't feel alone, right? And we're not getting just the well-intended help and love and support from people that are outside of the circle who don't get it, often including the therapists that our kids go to, right? So, is love enough? I would say it depends if that love catapults you into action. Maybe. But, you know, I remember dating my husband before he was my husband. And I remember breaking up with him and saying to him, I love you, but love is not enough for me. It's not. I need a guy who's going to be invested, who's going to work hard and be a provider, who has common goals, common heartstrings, the same visions, the same moral compass. And so as much as I love you, I have to let you go because it's not what I need. I need more than just love. And the piggyback to that is that our children need more than just love. They do. Love is a firm foundation. It is. But it's one that oftentimes they cannot receive. And so as much as you are giving love, love, love by the definitions that you know of love, sometimes the more you love them, the more they resist, the more scared they are, the more they push back, because love has proven to be the greatest pain that they've ever received, right? Because they loved, the gaping Grand Canyon-sized hole in their heart exists. And so why would they want any of that ever again? And so love by the traditional means and methods doesn't always work. And what we have to do instead is say, okay, what is going to work? What does my child need tangibly from me? And the truth is sometimes that's space. Sometimes that's some hard boundaries that say, hey, listen, you are allowed to feel the feelings that you have. But there's a healthy way to process those and an unhealthy one, and I can't support the unhealthy, right? I can't encourage the unhealthy. That, you know what? I love you enough right now to require more of yourself, and I love myself enough to set some hard boundaries of protection so that I can continue to show up, not just for you, but for the rest of this family. Boundaries are so important. Consistency in messaging, so important. And speaking of the consistency in messaging, Does the message that your child receives come across as, when you are behaving good, I will be there for you. And when you do not behave well, I will reject you and send you away. I know. How do you not send that message, right? Because you need the boundaries in order that you can protect yourself and that you can continue to show up and not quit on this. But the reality is oftentimes children blame themselves for their initial disruption. If I was a better kid, I could still be with my mom. If I didn't do A, B, C, and D, she wouldn't have beaten me over and over again, and I wouldn't have been removed. It's my fault that I'm not with my mom. And a lot of times they don't have the abilities to process those thoughts and feelings verbally. They come out in behavior, right? But then what shows up is a child who's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to be perfect. I'm going to have to be perfect because otherwise I'm going to have no place else to go. Until they realize they can't be perfect, in which case it's like, well, if I'm going to be removed, it's going to be on my terms because I chose it, not because they rejected me. So I'm literally going to digress into horrid behaviors so that I can say, I made you send me away. Ooh, painful. Painful, right? Guys, here's the answer, long and short. Love is a firm foundation. Love needs to show up in the ways of education and skill sets. It needs to show up in a way of understanding what it is that has changed inside your child's fundamental body chemistry that has them so highly reactive. The psychological thoughts and changes that have made it to where they need to be in control of you and everybody else. Because when they're not in control of the situation, it is just too scary. And then how do we get them to channel that in a direction that's healthy? How do we get them to lay down that need for control and learn that, you know what, I can sit under parental authority and sit within their love and actually be okay? They don't have experience to draw off of that speaks that to them. And how do you get them there when they're unwilling or incapable? I like incapable better, right? They don't have the skill sets. They don't even have the body chemistry. So the bad news is that it takes a lot of work and a lot of insight, not just on the part of the child, but on the part of the parent. And traditional parenting, I tried it. Boy, did I try it. And I got a lot of attaboys from the clinical team around me, like, wow, you're staying consistent, you're being super patient, and you're not yelling at your child, and your child's still really, really not doing okay. I was doing what I thought were all the right things. The problem is I didn't have the right systems and the right tools, and nobody around me did either. So I literally had to go back to college and figure it out. Like, how do we get these kids to start to metabolize out the body chemistry that they have sat in for so long, that they don't even know that life can feel or go different than that? How do we as parents show up for them over and over again with that love, with the consistency, but with the tools that go with those? So I am out of time. I would love to dive into that more. Tell me specifically how I can help answer questions for you regarding love, tools, your needs, your child's needs. I will read the comments. I will take it all into consideration. Also visit me at thetraumamama.com to understand a little bit more about what I have been able to come up with that genuinely does work, and check out the testimonials of other families that have walked in these shoes of adoption trauma, post-adoption trauma, the crazy and the chaos. We've been there. I get it. I get it. I get it. And then we will see you here on the next video to further dive into how we can help to tweeze out what's going on in our house and in our kids and help them to achieve their highest potential. Thanks for visiting us today. See me on Facebook, see me on YouTube, check me out on thetraumamama.com, and we will catch you later. Bye.